C'est le 3 millième missile tiré sur l'Ukraine depuis le 24 février.
The Russians still making the same mistake as the Germans in World War II, killing innocent people.
І ми стоїмо великою міцною стіною між країною-фашистом Росії і частиною Європи.
Nous n'avons besoin ni d'hommes ni de courage, mais de canons.
Slava Ukraini! Нашим солдатам слава, слава, слава!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the screening of the Slava Ukraini, the movie, the film, the documentary, even more than documentary, by Bernard-Henri Lévy, French philosopher, author, public intellectual, and the person behind the movie and behind the first movie, Why Ukraine? This is kind of a second part of the story, of your story and of Ukraine's story in last year. Sorry, yes. Before we go into the screening, into the show of the movie, we will have a couple minutes of conversation, and then maybe there will be opportunity for our audience to ask a few questions. We know that there is also another screening this evening, right? And we will be also attending it. Mr. Henri Lévy, is war beautiful?
No. War is ugly. War beautiful is a French cliché, dating from Guillaume Apollinaire. Ah, Dieu que la guerre est jolie. My God, how war is beautiful. Guillaume Apollinaire, the poet. It's a cliché from Marcel Proust, the bombing on Paris during the First World War in the sky of Paris. But the reality is that war is the worst. And one of the things which I admire in the Ukrainian people is that they know that. They hate the war, but they do it bravely and they win it. And doing the war while hating it, while being completely conscious that it is the most ugly thing possible, but doing it and winning it, this is one of the most respectable behavior I can imagine.
But you are quoting a poetry during the movie. There's a beautiful music that is kind of going through the movie all the time. There are very moving quotes from you and from your heroes in the movie. Especially I was struck by this by the sentence that people are burying themselves in the trenches to avoid death. That was something really paradoxical, but and deep. And that's my question. I mean, this is not only, this is something more than documentary. This war is something more than usual war. It's because of the values. So that's my question I'm coming back to this question. Is Ukraine representing, their defenders are representing some form of beauty, some form of values?
First of all, music is more than beautiful. It's a music composed especially for the movie by my friend Slava Vakarchuk, the great musician. And it is composed not only specially, but he composed it live in front of me when the editing of the movie was finished. It was a great experience. We had the screening of the movie on a little screen, and he really made the music live. He tried, he erased, he resumed, he erased again, he composed, and this process took a few days. But is more than beautiful. The music of Slava Vakarchuk is the part of the soul of Ukraine, of the soul, of the mind, so the soul of Ukraine. More than beautiful. My text, I hope it is not beautiful. I hope it matches with what I show, which is the highest possible suffering and the highest possible heroism. I hope my words match with that. About the values which Ukraine defends, yes, you are completely right. They defend high values. And the real war is not between, of course, there is the war between armies, but you have also the war between, on one side, mindless, heartless, stupid, moronic, barbaric, and fascist army, Russia, and on the other side, you have great, valiant, heroic, democratic, liberal, citizen, European soldiers. It is really, I don't like the word, but it is, for once, a war of civilizations. This war between Ukraine and Russia is a war between two Weltanschauung, two conceptions of the world, two civilizations. And when you are, as I was, on the field, as you are going to see, on the front line for, at the end of the day, 1 year, you feel it. You feel it in your skin. You feel it in your bones. This opposition between two ways of looking at the world.
The question I am going to ask right now might be a little bit political, but this is a question of, I'm quoting General Syrski, which we are interviewing during in one of the scenes, and he's asking the simple question: why then the West doesn't see what we are seeing? What the position of the West? You seem to be going, you participating in the enterprises, in the wars like this, in Libya, in Syria, in other places. To show the special value that people are fighting for, and in this case, this is very much visible. And you seem to have ambition to influence the viewers on the West. Absolutely, this is behind your movie. So why the West doesn't see this, what Ukrainians are seeing and doing?
Because the West never sees. When did the West foresee or even saw the genocide of the Armenians? Did the West see what was happening in 1936 in Spain, when we practiced the war of the attitude of non-intervention? Did the West saw what was happening to the Jews during the Holocaust, when Jan Karski went to Roosevelt? Did Roosevelt listen to Jan Karski? Did the West see what was happening in Berlin 1953, in Hungary 1956, in Czechoslovakia in 1968? No, again. Did the West see what was happening in former Yugoslavia? It took time. It took 4 years. So the first reflex of the West is not to see. That's why I titled one of my movies, before my 2 Ukrainian movies, The Will to See. My previous movie, which has not been broadcasted in Poland, the title is The Will to See, because I feel that what the world and the Western world lacks more is the will to, not the capacity to see, because capacity is here. All the facts are on the table. if we want to see. But we don't have the will to see. I spent my life trying to have the will to see and trying to convey this will to see. To be honest, I must say that this time the will to see was nevertheless greater, more significant than in the previous example I quoted. Poland, first, was of the forefront of the support, and is still. You are making your country.
Why do you think Poland was first to see, and then to support?
I look the figures.
Or the Eastern Europeans, generally speaking.
I look the figures. It's not only the government; it's also the citizens, and it's fairly shared between the private support by little sums and the government. So there is and there is a complicated past in the relationship between Poland and Ukraine. It has not been so easy all the time in history. So it's surprising, it's great, it's a proof of grandeur d'âme from the Polish civil society and civil government. It's great that the past has been put aside and that the solidarity is so sharp. Why? Two reasons. I think that the Polish paid all parties mixed, all origin, religious origin together, have paid such a high price in the past for horror. They suffered so much in their flesh from totalitarianism that they have very sharp reflex. They smell. When the beast is back, they are among the first in Poland to recognize the characteristic smell of the beast. Number one. Number two, you are under threat.
Yeah.
Under threat. You are on the front line. If Ukraine had lost, because I consider that Ukraine has won now, and it will be clear rather soon, I hope. If Ukraine had lost, you are second on the list. So this creates a very special sensitivity, I suppose. So these are the two reasons. A reflex. And politics at the end of the day is of course rationality, but it is also reflex. Good or bad reflex. So reflex shaped and sharpened, made sharp by the experience of history, plus the evidence of being second in the list, created this immediate reflex of solidarity. Americans also, we must recognize, I love America, but let's forget that. There has been a Polish miracle, a Zelensky miracle, comedian turned into Churchill, but there was also a Biden miracle. This old man who abandoned Kabul a few months before, who was treated by his adversaries as a sleepy guy. He went in Poland, he went in a refugee camp on March 2022. He met children, he took one of them in his arms, and something happened in the mind of this old man. And he became again a young man, a young Joe Biden, faithful to the best of America, faithful to the best of the vocation of the shining city upon the hill. And he took the lead with Poland, with France, and with Germany of the support. And without us, the heroes of Ukraine could have finished as the Jewish heroes of Masada or of the Warsaw Ghetto. Thanks to the support, they did not finish this way, and they will probably win the war.
And we're kind of witnessing right now the trip of President Zelensky to Berlin, to Paris, to London today is something that adds to your argument that it has also this transformational value. The war has this transformational value for the West. What you mentioned about Polish history, there is a scene in the, I'm privileged to see the movie before. There's a scene when you are discussing Bucha and the graves in the forest for the victims of Bucha or Irpin, and the scene is exactly like the scene from Andrzej Wajda movie Katyn. You know, every Pole will recognize the scene, the setup, the trees and the
it is in Izium.
It's Izium, yes. And how can we see Russia in the future? I mean, is it also a transformation of Russia? I mean, the perception of Russia. You are quoting Stalingrad. You are quoting International Legion in Spain in your movie. You are talking about it as examples of when you are showing us the miners from Pavlograd. You are mentioning that almost the same was happening in Stalingrad. But after such a transformation, after such a complete change in Russia, how can we think even in the future for getting back together?
It will take time. It will take time for Russia to ask forgiveness, but to ask properly. It will take time for Russia to wake up. The Russian people are like the German people in 1945. Same. They are sleepwalkers and they have to wake up. And these sort of sleepwalks with so much blood, so much acts of genocide, you don't wake up in one day. So it will take time. Everything is possible, of course. France and Germany reconciled. Some Jews came back to Germany. So everything is possible, but it will take time. And Russia will have to do a very considerable work on itself in order to be forgiven.
How can it start, such a transformation? Should it be collapse of Russia, or should it be some internal struggle to rethink themselves and start over?
First of all, you will have to be collapse of the regime. I don't see any safe future for Europe with the same guys at the top of the regime, Putin or his associates. It's impossible. As long as Putin or Prigozhin or Shoigu or anyone will be in power or even free, the free world will not be free. This is an evidence. They have gone too far. There is too much blood. When they are defeated, when they will be defeated, the wheel of revenge will be too hard. So they have to leave the stage, and they have to respond of their crimes. So they have to go to justice. So the first thing which has to be done and which will happen, I can predict that. I take the risk to predict that today in front of you. The first thing will be that will happen is that all these people, all the Putin entourage, they will be wiped out, balayés, wiped out. They will be. This is sure. Number two, the civil society, which has accepted this war, which has elected, embraced and endorsed Putin, will have to make the work of remorse, the work of mourning. They will have to mourn the dead of Bucha, of Izium and Mariupol. And it will not be enough just to get rid of Putin and Prigozhin.
Quite an ambitious plan to
No,
first to
it can go quick. It can go quick, believe me. Because Ukraine will win with the bravery of the soldiers and with the help of the West. What will it mean to win? It will be a collapse of the Russian army. What will a collapse of the Russian army mean? It will mean a collapse of the political power.
The regime, yes.
Inevitably.
But still, Russia has some, well, maybe not advantages, but it's even, you can feel it in your movie when you talk again about Stalingrad, about this post-colonial past where Russia played some role in the history, which is right now, its world is not only Europe, not only United States, it's also so-called global South, Africa, Latin America, where Mr. Lavrov is going around and is being received very, very warmly. And so there is this, they have this legend of being a promoter of values as well, especially in a views. And you travel to places of so-called global South, post-colonial places. How can you square these narratives? How can we convince people that Russia is actually not the force for good, but a great disruptor, and leading to the even more misery?
Number one, we have to explain. My film, the film we are going to see, was 1 week ago presented in the UN. It was the ECOSOC hall for 450 seats. It was full packed. Many countries of the global south were present. I don't want to speak instead of them, but I can risk to say that some of them were shaken in their certainty by what they saw. They don't buy as much as one could say the narrative of Lavrov. First of all, I saw that. There was in the room, I don't want to quote them because it's their responsibility to speak when they want, but a lot of diplomats, ambassadors of lower rank of this country. They looked at the movie very carefully. And they followed the discussion that followed between me, the ambassador. I was interrogated by the two ambassadors of Ukraine and France. They followed the Q&A very closely too, all of them. Number one. Number two, are you sure that these people like losers? Putin is a loser. And it will appear more and more. Look at the image. Zelensky and Putin. I'm not sure that in 1 year the people of Africa will really want to be associated to such a loser. And especially when they will understand, because it has to be explained, that this loser is the one who is spreading hunger, who is blocking the grains, who is precipitating their countries in huge poverty and so on. So the game is not over. And the West has not lost the game. There is a threat. I wrote a book a few years ago called The Empire and the Five Kings. And I said that there was a risk to see Iran, Turkey, radical Islam, China and Putin to prevail and to take over and to put aside America and the West. I wrote a book in 2017, The Empire of the Five Kings, saying that that there was a real crisis of the West. Strangely enough, in spite of the suffering, in spite of the blood, in spite of the ugly war, I am more optimistic today, because the West woke up. And the battle for convincing the global South starts only now. And I have, you are right, I spent a lot of my life traveling in this global South, reporting in Darfur, in Sudan, in Angola, in Burundi, in Rwanda. I have been all my life advocate of some of these countries. So I may have a little credit. I am well decided to use this small credit I have in order to convince this country that they make a historical mistake by endorsing the neo-colonial power of today, which is the neo-colonialism, which is China and Russia.
Let me conclude this part of our meeting with one more question, kind of coming back to my first one. Your friend, President Emmanuel Macron, is calling for the conference that will settle the debts of the global South and the financial structure of the world to transform it. Your movies, the first one and this one, is also showing the transformational power. That's why it's beautiful, because it's not about politics, but it's about the values. That's why I called it beautiful. Can you envisage the world after? If we put so much stress, if we put so much importance to the events that we are witnessing, closer or farther from Ukraine, but nonetheless we are feeling that this is something important is happening. So, Second World War, it was complete transformation of the world, right? European Union is a baby of this of this transformation of this war. So can you maybe share some thoughts of how it will look like in next decades? I mean, what do you expect?
The change will be as big as the change in 1945. A new world will emerge out of the defeat of Russia. Even if Hitlerism is incomparable to anything, but nevertheless, you will have some sort of equivalence. The UN will be reformed. Russia, Federation of Russia, will lose its seat in Security Council. And I will write something soon, maybe in the Polish press also, about that. About the scandal of Russia having a seat of permanent member in the Security Council of UN. This will be over. The UN itself will be reformed. Europe will gain some strength. Inside Europe, the balance of power will be different. Poland will be will have much more credit, will have much more power than it had before. America, if Trump is not re-elected, America will be back strongly and for the best. The gangsters, the kleptocrats, as Putin, but there are many, will understand the lesson. They will be much more careful. The Chinese, if Ukraine wins, will look twice, or maybe 3 times, or before taking risk to invade Taiwan. So it will be a new world.
Well, that's a really uplifting vision. Thank you very much for this conversation. Now we have a chance and opportunity to ask a few questions. Looking for volunteers.
I think we can start because we are a little bit late, so maybe we can start.
With the
Yes,
with
and
the screening.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
We start with the
Yes.
screening. Okay. What you have to know for the screening. 100% of the image you will see are unseen, are new, belong to me. There is no archive, nothing taken from a television or whatsoever. This is very important. There is only one archive plan, 1 second in the whole movie. But 99.9% original image, footage. This is crucial. Number 2, it was done by a very small team, French and Ukrainian. And number 3, it was done by my team and myself. I mean by that you can, there is a lot of documentaries where the director asks a cameraman to go and make an image, or it was not the case. I am here personally with my brain, heart and body in every single scene you are going to see. It was a matter of principle for me, and it was a matter of the way I work. So I did that with my co-director, Marc Roussel, with everybody is on screen from time to time, you will see them, with my Ukrainian cameraman. I was there from the first minute to the last minute. And last thing, the film is composed, as you will see, as a sort of diary, a journal diary, which is for me the most honest way to deliver such a testimony, to present the things as they have happened, in the real order, with the hesitations, the doubts, and so on. It is a diary. Good screening.
Feels very, very real, to be honest. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.